Whoosah.
Good morning. It is Social Surge with Fly and Mo, and I think we might have our act together.
The act is together, and the quality of the act is high. The act has been running for weeks on end. And also we're in event season, baby. There is no rest for the wicked.
Yes, there is no rest for the wicked. Good morning, Regalata Real Estate. Thanks for joining us on Instagram.
The internet. What up? What the heck?
All right, so we were not here last Thursday. Why were we not here last Thursday?
My internet.
Oh yeah, that's right.
My increasing internet issues in Louisiana, which is fine. I'm not in Louisiana, however, I am. I have absconded to the north. I'm in Minnesota right now. So maybe the internet's better. Maybe I won't freeze today.
You've been doing good so far, so it's been amazing.
See, it's just all right. I'm not going to talk bad about Louisiana because I live there. I'm just going to talk bad about the internet I have there.
Where are you at in Minnesota?
I am in the Twin Cities.
Okay.
Staying with my fam. Up here with daughter for a little reprieve. And when you are a strong working woman and your husband's a strong working man, and you both on business trips at the same time, you got to get some extra support. So pour one out for my parents for being childcare.
That's amazing. I love that. I love that you actually do have that support system. And I don't think we talk about, well, we do talk about it enough. You and I do not. In general, it is talked about, but there's something to be said for having that support system. So I will actually be in Minnesota this weekend, but yeah. And so where the Twin Cities are to where I'm going to be, it's like a 6.5 hour drive. Cause I don't think people realize how big Minnesota is. So we actually will be flying into Minneapolis to then go into Grand Forks to then get picked up by our children who are driving from Spokane.
That's crazy.
It's a big country. Yeah, it's a 21-hour drive. And if you've never driven through Montana, bless your heart, because Montana is like a ridiculous state. It's if you've never driven through Texas, like
I have driven through Texas.
Yeah. So Texas and Montana are like equivalent to me in my brain because they take forever to get across. Hey, good morning. Oh my gosh, you have the best last name.
Look at that name. Look at everything about you. We love you.
Yes. Good morning. I love your last name. That's the best last name ever. Okay. So anyway,
actually not that easy to please. I just want to put that out there.
So yeah, so I'll be like 35 miles south of Canada over the weekend, saying goodbye to a very wonderful and lovely woman who is like a second mom to me. She's a grandmother to my kids. She tragically passed in an accident last Thursday. So we will be there saying goodbye to Miss Corrine. And yeah, anyway, I'm not going to cry. Okay. Get that out. Cause I know you're a sympathetic crier, aren't you?
Stop. No.
Okay.
Yes, I am. I cry a lot. And I just, you know what? Because I love things. I'm super empathetic. I don't know if I'm sympathetic. I don't actually have a lot of sympathy for people.
I can empathize, but I don't have, I don't have a lot of, like, you make stupid choices.
Me personally?
No, just thank you, Dwayne. No, you make stupid, like, that's the whole thing, like sympathy and empathy. Like, I do not have a lot of sympathy for a lot of people because it's just like, you had two choices. This one was the good one. This one was the bad one. You went with the bad one. What did you think was going to, it's like the whole FAFO sort of thing. Anywho, we're going to do something different. So we're not doing something different. We're going off on tangents, but we actually have a purpose for today's show. Today's show is about talking about the top 10, the CREiSummit or the CREI list for the LinkedIn top 10, which actually had 11 people on it this year. And what Fly and I have not done is we have not talked to each other about what we think makes makes a person be on this list. So I have my reasons and she has her reasons. And so now we get to test to see if we're on the same page or if we're not.
Slapdash newlywed game.
Yes.
Slapdash for sure. But yeah, so this will be interesting. So, and a couple of things too, to talk about in the way that people are ranked on this list, right? So it is not just about who has the most followers. It's not about that, right? It is when the CREiSummit and the people who curate the lists, they are looking at multiple things. They're looking at followers, right? It's a piece of the puzzle, but they're also looking at impressions, engagement, consistency. I almost gave up one of my things, but there's more. So there are many things that lead to someone being ranked on the list in terms of the metrics that they're looking for. But the way that I sort of wrote my own list of what I see across the board for all these people has to do with the actions they are taking to get those kinds of metrics. So just as a preface, that's what I'm looking at. So when I'm looking at what do all the people have in common, first thing, I'm not looking at followers. I'll tell you that right now.
No, I'm not looking at followers either. What I'm looking at, and it's a lot of like the list as they put it together. You're looking at social influence and impact, and that is huge, right? How are you impacting the community at large? How are you impacting the people that you're connecting with, right, on the social platforms? How are you connecting in real life too? Because that's also that would actually be a super interesting metric to follow. So there's a whole bunch of tools about social listening. This is for our people who are joining us today. Social listening is actually a very important metric to follow. Not a lot of people do, but it's the number of times that your name is mentioned or the number of times that you are tagged in something. Yeah. That is social listening, and it's listening for those things. And what are they saying about you? So that would actually be a super interesting metric to follow. However, it is very, very difficult to do because it's time consuming. If you had the time to do it, that would be great. Marcy says, Alice and Barbie and Elkie are awesome. Yes, they are. They are incredible on the list. And some of our favorite people. Okay, so are we ready to go?
Okay, do you want me to... I don't know how to do this. We didn't plan it, so I'm just going to start. Okay, so here was the first thing. So when I look at the top 10, 11 people on the list, should we name them? Wait.
Yes.
Okay. Bob Knackle, Gabe Marins, Kyle Matthews, Tyler Bindi, Frost Chima, Adam Dunn, Dan Lukovitz, Beth Azor, Don Gregor, Herky Pollock, and Julia Silvia.
Correct.
Right here in my notes. When I look at those 11 names, the first thing immediately is I post consistently. If not daily, consistently.
Okay. And not only do they post consistently, but it's high quality content. Ooh.
I actually did not have that on my list.
So they regularly share, to me, it's like you're regularly sharing insights. Like when I look at Adam Dunn's content, Adam Dunn's consistently sharing stuff about what's happening in the multi-housing market he's in Boston, right? So he's sharing that information. He's getting all of the dats and stata.
Dats and stats. We need that on a shirt.
Data and stats. And he's posting that consistently. And then of course they're all, right? They're all thought leadership. They're all sharing stuff about the industry. They're sharing they're sharing their lives really on social, which is and it's high quality content. It's stuff we want to read. It's stuff we want to consume. They actually will stop the scroll. Hey, James Milner, thanks for joining us over on Instagram.
What up, James? Yeah, I did have insights on my list. That was the next thing on my list. Tell the story mixed with insights. current events, and they talk about their journey, and it's not all business.
Correct.
It is not all business. Like, I mean, just on the topic of Adam Dunn, like he has probably one of the best, like, consistent, like, sharing of insights in his market specifically. And then, like, you know, coming out from that too. But then also he is, and this kind of segues into another thing. Like, he also shares, and he's also, like, contextualizing those insights for what they mean for him and for his prospects and his clients, right? And so mixing, you know, it's more than just the data. It's more than just the data. And I think that maybe is sort of like the banner of this point, right? You know, Gabe Marin's also, all of them are. Every single person on this list is consistently posting about what they see in the numbers, what they see on the streets, and what they mean for them and their clients, right? And the other thing that I see consistently across in the, you know, all of the storytelling, you know, sharing about their journey and the way that they're sharing is that they're sharing about real conversations that they're having with people.
Correct. It's very relatable to everything. It's relatable to everything that's happening in the market currently, right? And good morning to Coy Davidson, who's joining us over on Instagram. Good morning, Coy.
Coy's on Instagram?
I know. I was actually going to razz him a little bit for that too. And then self-storage Stouffer. Sorry, buddy. I'm.
It's okay. We love you. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for being on Instagram with us. And Mara Frumkin, CRE, is joining us on Instagram as well. So thank you for being here. We are talking about the LinkedIn top 10 list and what are the traits and what are the traits that all of these top 10 actually share while they're there. And now one of the things you have not mentioned yet for the top 10.
I have a long list.
For me, is super important. Okay. All of them are excellent at storytelling, right? I think that's the top for me, is that they all have they all have a storytelling aspect to how they share their content and their information. Why is that important? Well, we can go back in time and we can think about history, right? And oral history is super important. And that is how history has been passed down. And it's because we are, as humans, don't forget you're a human, we love stories. We love stories that teach us something. We love stories that share values. We love a good story. So if you're looking at your own LinkedIn, if you're looking at your own content, how are you telling the story, right? How are you sharing all of that information in a way that is relatable and understandable to your audience?
Here's the thing that I see that most of the people on this list do, is when they are telling the story of their experiences, of what they're seeing, of their clients, etc., they lean into the parts of the journey that are maybe not so great. And that kind of vulnerability and humility and authenticity, which we always have to like asterisk with a gag,
yes,
is really something that draws people in. I mean, you know, and what's interesting when you look at Bob is, you know, and this leans into another point that I have, which is actually, which is not true of everybody, but it is of some, and it's important to keep in mind. But like when you look at Bob and the way that he has documented his career, and he has an enormous pool of content to pull from, and sharing that story is like, that is incredible. Because like, even if Bob is the number one dude in all of the things and in all the world, like it wasn't always that way. It was not always that way. And then like, I will see like what, you know, every time I see Tyler Bindi post something where he's like, I lost a deal or something like went wrong, 500 likes. Do you know what I mean? Because, and it is really the same with all of them. Like if you are able to talk about your failures with, you know, and reflect on them and grow from them and own them, I trust you way more than somebody who is trying to be like, don't talk about that. because it doesn't look good. Right? Because you want to know what? Not every deal is going to go smooth. Not every call is going to go great. You're going to have people scream in your face, and you're going to have deals blow up in your face. And actually, if you can talk about that in a way that is confident and owns it, like that is what I see these 11 people doing.
Agreed.
Full stop.
The other thing I think we need to, there's a couple more traits that I have for them as well. One of them is community building, which I don't think we really touched on as much. But if you look at the traits that these people have, is that they're actually building a community around their content. If we look at Bob, if we look at a Beth, if we look at, at Adam, if we look at Faraz, they've actually built a community around what it is that they're sharing on social, so like, I know Faraz hasn't been on social because he's taken a break, and totally understandable. 100% agree that you should do that. I wish I could. I wish I could. And sometimes for my own personal, yes, I do not put up as much content as I probably should because it is my business. But I'm so busy creating content for other people that a lot of times by the time I get to me, the little creative side of my brain is like, yeah, no, we're on vacation. Yeah, it's not happening. So, but it is about community building. They're building a community around their content. They're building a community around their personality, right? At one time in my career, I was accused of having a cult of personality.
That's great. That is a great accusation.
It's funny now. Back then when it was happening and when it wasn't so much, I was like, really? Wow, you're that like petty that's what you're going to say because I've created relationships with these people.
Yes, it's real. Yes, it is one that is a huge thing is that even though, we're looking at people who have anywhere from like 8,000 followers to almost, 60,000 or more. I don't know how many followers Kyle Matthews has.
I don't either.
I didn't look at that number because that number is not important to me, actually, no. Right? But I wrote down, you can see them in their content, you can see their personality, and they're leaning into the audience, and they're building real relationships. Like when Bob Nackle comments a little emoji, that's him. I know people think it's you, it's not you, it's him. And like, and all of them, right? Like they are they are showing people who they are. They are building real relationships on social media. And they're leaning into what people enjoy about that content, right? I had another point and then I lost it. Give the people what they want. That's what I wrote down. And also, most of these people are known for a thing.
Correct.
Maybe it's a content series. Like Bindi had a lot of breakout with, Breakdown and a Bite. What am I saying? Breakdown and a Bite. Bob has a variety of series that he has. Beth has a variety of series that he has. Even if it's like a short thing, like Adam Dunn, of course, like I love him for when we did the 100-day sprint. Even if you look at, or it's like you're known for a thing. Like Dan Lugowitz loves cars.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's, but it's something that he shares that also other people enjoy cars. And so he can build relationships with people with shared interests, just like you would in real life.
I would love to see us, and it hasn't happened yet. And I've actually talked to Faraz about this. I would love for him to do like brokers and cars getting coffee, right?
Wow, that would be so great.
Wouldn't it? And because Faraz has like these great vehicles that he could be in, and like he could hire a driver and they could sit in the back of one of his really nice cars and they could sit there and have a conversation over coffee. Like, okay.
That makes me really, we love you, Faraz. We miss you. Okay.
But that's one of the things like that. Those are the ideas, the content that you could come up with that you could totally get a following that people are going to want to pay attention to. Right now we have Bob doing What Would Bob Nackle Do?
Yeah.
Right.
Which is also engaging with his audience.
Correct. Because these are people who are sending in questions. A walk down the street takes place of, we used to do Monday Motivation. Now a walk down the street, and he's actually, it's great. It's Bob walking down the street. Yep. It's so funny to me because here he is just talking on his phone, but he's talking about like, he's talking about stuff that's happening in New York City. He's talking about stuff that happens in development, in purchasing a building. A lot of great information in those little bite-sized bits of 3 to 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And if you were interested in that market and in that field, it would be something that you should be watching. And it's totally binge worthy too, which is great.
Raise your hand if you've been on a Bob Knackle binge where suddenly it's like an hour later and you're like, I'm like 2 years deep in the content. Like,
thanks for joining us, Monica Moreno, over on Instagram. Appreciate you being here. Yes, I'm actually in email communication with somebody who wanted to do a question for what would Bob Knackle do, and then couldn't remember what the podcast was. And so he's like, I'll be back. And like 2 weeks later, he emails me and he goes, okay. He goes, I started wearing a tie. My wife's having a kid and we're going to name it Bob. Don't care if it's a girl or a boy.
I love it.
It was so funny. But he had gone through a bunch of different podcasts to find where this question was, that he was just like, this is what I need. This is very specific. You said it on this podcast at this time. So of course that's going to be one of the questions that Bob answers. But the whole point is he did go on this binge and he watched a bunch of podcasts, and he says he absolutely feels like he's a better broker for having done that.
Aww.
There's a lot. Yeah, no, absolutely. So like I'm screenshotting that. I'm sending it over to BK and telling him, hey, like this stuff is making an impact. Like sometimes we feel like the stuff that we share doesn't make an impact.
Yes.
And it is impacting people in a way that they might not comment, they might not ever react, but it is impacting them in a very positive way. One of the things that I wanted to mention as well is adaptability. Ooh. All of the people who are on this list have adapted, either whether it's utilizing like different types of multimedia, they're using platforms that you don't think that they would be on, or they're staying current with what's happening like digitally, right? So, this is this is the new gadget, or this is the new thing that's happening. Let's try it. A lot of podcasts, right?
Yeah. Earned media, podcast appearances, collaborations. Those are all on my list. Yeah.
Yeah. And so now that we've kind of gone through this list of what makes the best,
more.
You have more. Hold on. Oh, you have more? Okay.
I have a little more. Okay. I know we're running out of time. Okay. A couple of things. Really basic also. Really basic. They show their face. Sorry. They show their face.
Yep.
And it's not necessarily all the time. Like Gabe Marin's for me is like the poet of LinkedIn, right? Like when he pops in with a banger post, it's like 4 lines. This is what happened. This is how, like this. And it's always like, whew, how did you do that in 5 lines, dude? And then like every couple of weeks he'll pop in with a 60 seconds with Gabe, right? But like it doesn't need to be complicated. None of this needs to be complicated, but people need to know who you are and what you look like.
Right. We connect with human and we connect with face. And that's exactly why, like when I work with my clients, I highly recommend that they all go and get a lifestyle photo shoot. And they're like, what's a lifestyle photo shoot, Mo? And I said, well, it's a photo shoot where you're like on your phone or you're working at your computer. It's a day in the life of you, right? Because while the professional photos are great, and I love looking at you as you're standing there with your arms crossed and you got that serious gaze.
Right. The same headshot that is on your listings and your results posts like over and over and over again. Like that. You want to know what? Because some people aren't even doing that. However, the more that you allow yourself to show up as yourself, as you actually are, on social media.
I was just going to point to my hair.
Right? Like, this is it, right? This is how I will show up on a Zoom call, okay? Like, God, Zoom. The more that you show up as yourself in the way that you would show up in the real world, in conversation with real people, that's how you're going to build trust. That's how you're going to build relationships. That's how you're going to get clients from the relationships that were built on trust, like from being yourself, showing your face, showing up consistently. There is
sharing valuable information, right? You have to share valuable information, stuff of value. There's so many people that are afraid of giving away their secret sauce. Y'all, you don't have secret sauce. You're all doing the same thing. You're all in sales. Either you're selling a building or you're selling your services. There's no secret sauce.
The way that you think The only thing unique about you is your unique experience and perspective on the world. That's it.
Correct.
Anybody can sell a building. Well, that's not true. But lots of schmucks are out there selling buildings. All right.
True.
And like, I don't want just any schmuck. I want you. You know what I mean? I want you. The only reason, if everybody is the same, if everybody can do the same thing, if everybody has access to the same tools, the same platforms, etc., the differentiator, which we've talked about all the things that are in common here. The differentiator here is that it is all of these people are uniquely, remarkably themselves.
Correct.
And they have put in the work to show up consistently. And not all of them have extensive time in the game. I mean, like Bindy's gotten pretty far up there for being how, for being, if you look at somebody like Bob, who's been in the business for 40 years, probably, like, I don't know how old Tyler is, but I mean, that's like almost twice as long as Tyler's been alive, right? You know what I mean? But because Tyler has gone in so hard to show up consistently in a variety of content styles, right? And to lean into the storytelling and talk about his experience, he has gotten so much farther ahead from people who have not put in the work, not put in the, shown up consistently, and who are, we're out of time, so I'm not going to go off on a mindset tangent.
Real quick, I want to talk about the lessons and best practices.
Yeah.
So engage authentically, right? So engage authentically, right? We can't say it without, you have to engage. You have to showcase your expertise, leverage the social platforms and leverage media, right? So we're talking graphic posts, video, getting on podcasts, doing audiograms, network strategically. I think that's an important one. All of these people, hey, it's Eddie Gonzalez joining us over on Instagram. Nice to see you, Eddie.
I'm Eddie. If my morning starts with Eddie, I usually have a good morning.
Eddie is another great example of, and this would be different. This would be for Instagram, but Eddie does tub talks, right? That is
a thing.
That is a thing, right? And he talks about commercial real estate in his tub with bubbles. And it's hilarious. It is a staple of creating content. And then the last thing that comes down to is develop a content strategy.
Yeah.
And that is huge. If you're just kind of raw dogging your content, that's not a great that's not a great strategy. So highly recommend you figure out on like what days you're going to post what. It's when I talk to my clients, we come up with their content pillars or content buckets. And those are the things that I want them to be able to pull from. So an easy thing for you to do, trying to figure out what your content pillar or bucket is think to yourself and say self. Got to say self.
Self.
If I were to get up on stage and talk about something for 5 minutes, unscripted, what would that be? And do not give me the excuse of I'd never get up on stage. That's not the point. That is not the point.
This is the stage, baby. This is the stage now.
Eddie says, quote of the day, don't rot. No, it's your content strategy.
That's good. No, that's great. No, we'll get it on a t-shirt. Yeah. And then like, look, I mean, not to always be the person who plugs you.
Oh.
But there's a couple people on this list who are your clients. I'm just saying. I am just saying, right? And so here's the other thing, right? You are not you. I'm talking now to the audience. You in the audience. You have a lot to do. You're very busy. You have to make calls. You need to do deals, right? You may be a specialist in your asset class, in your market. You're the expert at that. All this social media stuff, literally for both of us, it is our full-time job. It takes a lot of time. And so if you are finding that you want this, you want to be in the LinkedIn top 10, I'm just saying, like, reach out for some support. Over here, I think she's over here, and then
I am
down
here.
there.
Yes. So Social Mastery VIP is a group that I have on School, and we have a wait list going right now. The group is going to be all about helping you with your social media strategy as well as the marketing ecosystem, because it is not just social, it is the whole thing, talking about email marketing, websites, landing pages. Do you have downloads for people to get into your CRM? Your CRM is important. What CRM are you using? Doesn't matter what CRM you're using as long as you're using it, right? Yeah. The most important CRM that you're ever going to use is the one that you actually use.
Same with social media platforms, right? You say that a lot, right? And then
Yes.
the other thing too is that about joining a group like this, or being, talking with us, or being a part of the community that you and I are building on social media, is like there are so many different things to think about. And sometimes having other people to talk to you about that or coach you through that it helps you cut out a lot of the time and focus on the correct things, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that is a subject that we need to.
Yep.
That's another show.
I write it down. Wait, I'm putting my notes. The other plug that I want to make also is that most of these people on the LinkedIn top 10 will be at CREiSummit in this fall, September 12th, September 10th to 12th. I cannot do sales at 8 in the morning. Oh no.
Yes. CREiSummit is going to be in Palm Desert. Both Fly and I are busy. She's on the programming committee. I'm on the marketing committee. Thanks for the reminder, because
You're babysitting me on the programming committee. Let's just
the Twitter list, the X list. Ooh. Is actually, if you haven't put in for it, go to CREiSummit.com/CREI-list. That's CREiSummit.com/CREI-list. And you can apply for the X list right now. Put your numbers in, see where you're at. It's always good to take a look at what your numbers are and what you've done over the year. Unfortunately, X is a little wonky with their analytics right now, and it's a little bit harder than it used to be able to see like your top posts, which is why I recommend every 3 months going in, checking out your top posts, kind of putting it in. You can put it in a Google Doc, however you want to track it. But if that's something that's important to you, definitely try to get on that list. We'll be releasing that in May, which is like
now.
Yeah, it's
on Thursday.
Yeah, you can sign up for the list is through May 8th, and then we'll be launching that list at the end of the month, May. End of month, May. Oh my gosh, so much stuff. I will see you in Nueva York on Thursday.
Yes, you will.
In person.
I still haven't really told anybody, but I don't know what's happening. Doesn't matter. It's happening. Bye.
We'll tell you all about our trips to New York City and going to the real estate gala. You'll probably actually see both of us live on, more than likely, Instagram. I don't think we'll go live on any of these.
I think probably just Instagram sounds good.
We might go live on X too, but it just depends. So we'll share
my glasses work, because I can go live from my glasses.
Yes. Except
I'm gonna get in trouble. I'm gonna get kicked out.
Except for when you're using your glasses and then it sends me text in all caps like you're yelling.
Yep. Because I'm yelling. Okay.
Thank you everybody for joining us today. We will see you next Tuesday. We will not be here on Thursday because Thursday is going to be crazy busy.
Crazy day, crazy town. Okay. All right. We love you. Go post something.
Go post and conquer.